How's everyone's holly shorts going? I can't hear you from all the way up here. How's everyone's holly shorts going? All right, glad to hear. Cool. So thank you so much for coming to our awesome panel with awesome speakers here today. I'm very honored to be the moderator. My name is Kevin Winston. I'm founder of Digital LA. It's LA's largest digital entertainment startup networking group. We organize panels and events every week at something called Silicon Beach Fest. And so we moderate a lot of panels, including several here at this great place called Ignited Spaces. Who here has been to Ignited Spaces before? Yesterday. All right, cool. Yeah, yes. Ignited Spaces is one of the hosts for all the panels. So if you've been to a Holly Shorts panel before, they are hosting all the panels. So thank you to Ignited Spaces for that. Ignited Spaces is a co-working / workspace where they have co-working tables here, and they have workspaces all the way around on half the floor. I think you actually have the whole floor now, and they're working to acquire another floor as well. So they have a lot of events in this space, and then members can come and check it out. And if you're interested in some of the spaces, you can definitely talk to the folks at Ignited Spaces who are in the back who can help you with that. So also thank you again to Holly Shorts and Deep Betty Vodka. Throughout the presentation, definitely feel free to just get up and get some vodka over there. There's a bunch of stuff. It makes the panel and the questions much more fun. Our panelists have already had some, and this is being live streamed, by the way. So thank you for also Holly Shorts for live streaming. Has the live stream gone out? All right, so the live stream has actually gone out. So if you want, your friends to see what's going on, or to, hear you ask a question, definitely you can go ahead and retweet that from at Holly Shorts, which just tweeted it. Okay, so it's all about me and what I do and Holly Shorts. So let's have our panelists introduce yourselves. If you could start off with your name, your company, what you do briefly. We'll get into a little bit more detail after that. And something fun that happened to you over the past week. It can be work-related or not.
Okay,
Go ahead and start.
Hi everybody, I'm Anthony Layser. I'm from Dailymotion. Dailymotion is the second largest UGC video sharing platform in the world. What I do is I oversee our US content team out here in Santa Monica and also in New York. And we look to work with content creators and help them find an audience and increase revenue around the content they're creating. Something fun I did in the last week. I just found a new doggy daycare for my dog, and I found there's some really great, I don't want to give the name because it's like kind of being, advertorial, but forget it, City Dog. City Dog is a good spot, and they have some really cute dogs there, and that are cool to play with your dog if you want to do that. So I'll leave it at that.
All right, cool, thank you.
Hi, I'm Adam Boorstin. I'm the head of partnerships for BuzzFeed Motion Pictures. So I manage our relationships with all the various platforms that our videos are on, and I help make new distribution deals to get our content out there, sort of increase our reach and our revenue. Something fun that happened to me in the last week, I'm gonna go the route that Anthony took. I did some cat sitting this week, which is sort of apropos for BuzzFeed. I just sort of hung out at my parents' house, and my cat hung out with me.
Did you get some ideas from new cat-related
videos? A lot of ideas.
I am Elisabeth Gray. I am an independent content creator with Das Egg Productions. I've just made a web series called Understudies. So I write and I act and I produce, and I think something fun I did. I got here today. I don't live in LA, and I drove from Santa Monica, and that was an experience.
That was fun? That was a fun experience?
It's entertaining. It was my first rush hour trip. Yeah, pretty exciting.
Gotta leave before 4 o'clock. I think
Anthony Deptula. I'm director of programming for Maker Studios, and specifically for labs. So essentially I work with Robert Kirkman's company, Skybound, James Franco, will.i.am, Nigel Houston, skateboarder, and we create digital slates with them. So creating content that can go on different platforms. Recently I went to the Forest Lawn Museum. So there's a museum in Glendale. They actually have a museum at the cemetery. They had a whole exhibit about rock posters from like the 60s and 70s, which was really rad. And then they also built a building around this giant painting from the 1904 World's Fair, and they actually have a show around it. It's a 400-seat theater, and I was so surprised that they had that there. So I just randomly wanted to go to that museum. So
That's
super
good
fun.
about that. Awesome. Very
Yeah,
cool.
check it out. It's really weird.
So LA is all about storytelling and about filmmakers. It's all about stories. So I'd like to ask that question to add a little more perspective to what y'all do. So that's our speakers. How about our audience? Who here is a filmmaker? All right, I see everybody. Directors. All right, producers. Cinematographers. All right, production. Marketing.
Gaffers.
Marketing and PR. Catering. No. All right. So we have a wide range of folks here. Basically, everyone does everything. A lot of people have their hands up for multiple things, which is what happens when you do you get in kind of doing everything. All right, but we're going to talk today about digital distribution and finding your audience and optimizing your content for digital distribution. All of our speakers are awesome at doing all of that. Their companies are known for doing that in many cases. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So when you have content, as you're creating the content, when should you start thinking about what platform it should be on, whether it should be on YouTube or Vimeo, or whether it should be told in the form of Snapchat stories, which is now a thing? How do you figure out, at what point should you start to think about what the platform is, or should you just create your content, your half an hour thing, your 22-minute thing, and then it might get chopped up into, web series or whatever? Like, at what point should you start thinking about where you actually distribute it?
I can jump in. So I think there are obviously a lot of ways to create content and different methodologies. At BuzzFeed, we tend to focus on customizing content for each platform. So we would probably start at the platform level, think about who's on the platform, what the audience is like, sort of what content's going to work, and then we start experimentation. So we start putting content out there, seeing what works, starting to learn more about the platform. And then it's really the goal of saying, we have a team focused on this. We want to try to crack a platform and get as much engagement and, have people react to our stuff, listen to people, and, really it's build an audience on
So
the
do you have an
platform.
example of that, or?
Yeah, we just started working with Snapchat Discover, which obviously is a very different, model. It's really short form content. So we started a team called the Shorter Than Short Form team, which is like, they specialize in GIFs and really short videos. But it's not just truncating our content. It's actually customized, and it's all a process of experimentation. We're always seeing what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on what Adam was saying, is that it's important, a misconception, I think, this is starting to go away, but from a few years ago, that people thought digital content was just shorter television, and that really is an erroneous kind of thinking. It's its own medium, just like Snapchat or Vine are different than a 3 to 4 minute video, and what you're trying to accomplish there. The audience is different, engagement's different, and so you really do have to think about where your distribution point is when you're starting to formulate the story you're trying to tell. I couldn't stress that enough.
Okay.
I mean, I think, when I was a filmmaker, I would say, oh, who cares about the audience? I'm just gonna make whatever I want because this is my vision, right? And I think, if you look at something like High Maintenance, I don't know if those guys knew that Vimeo was gonna be the platform that was gonna pop on, right? So I think they just wanted to make a show. So I think you can approach, if you're starting you're a creative, you can say, I just want to make whatever I want, because you can, and you're an artist, and you can do that, and you're a filmmaker. But for me, at Maker, with the talent that we're working at, we're looking at their audiences. So if you have an established audience, right? If you have social following on Twitter, Facebook, like James Franco has 8.2 million Facebook likes, right? So that could be an interesting platform for us to release something on, right? So if you have that audience, why not try to think of an idea that would work on that platform? So if it's Instagram, if it's Twitter, if it's Facebook, right? If that's where the bulk of your audience is, And then you can start telling the story of you making that project. And so when that comes out, you'll be able to then promote it and market it wherever your audience is. So, and I think a lot of traditional filmmakers might not have that audience. So, I think if you start building that at the beginning of the creative process, at least you'll have an audience right when you launch it. So it's something to be aware of, and but you can just throw it out the window too.
No, it's really interesting. We've evolved, I think, a long way. It used to be 5 years ago. The concept was, okay, whatever you make, that's great. You made it, now let's chop it up for digital and then find the audience. But now you're saying you got to find the audience and think about where it's going to be from the beginning before you even start shooting it, sounds like. Okay.
Yeah, I would just say, I recently published an article on IndieWire called Things I Wish I'd Known Before Making a Web Series. And I wish I'd known the platform it was going to land on, and I wish I'd been much more targeted in knowing the audience base, because I think it's and the length of time of episodes. I think very often creators like, I really want to tell this story, it would be amazing, and then you make something and it lands in the obscure corners of YouTube, and that's horrible. And so I wish, and we've landed in a great place, but I wish I'd spent more time sort of observing the market and making sure that we were creating something that had a very specific audience. Because as you say, Anthony, not everyone, I don't even have 1,000 friends on Facebook. Like I don't have like a base.
Oh, I agree right
I don't have a base, I don't have like a built-in audience base for my content. So actually finding the platform that would be the right match before creating it, I think is really important these days.
Okay, so we've got to figure out what platform it's going to be on and where the audience is. How do you figure out what platform it's going to be on? Let's say you have an idea for a web series, or you have an idea for a character-driven reality show, or some great fiction that you've written. How do you know where you should put it? Should you put it on YouTube? Should you put it on Vimeo? Should you put it on Dailymotion? Should you, put it on...
Being from Dailymotion, I should say, obviously you should put it on Dailymotion, but you take it from Adam. Adam's one of our partners, and Adam, your content is everywhere, right?
We're on a lot of different platforms, that's correct.
Yeah, and why is that?
So I think the answer is we would start with, if we had an idea like you described, we would sort of take solace in saying, we don't know where this is going to perform, and we don't necessarily know where it's going to succeed. But we can start by releasing, versions of it, clips of it, and do this whole testing process, which we found really effective.
So is this like a digital pilot, or?
We would see it's like almost like a modern day focus group where you can start releasing content, monitor the, sort of how people are responding to it,
like a 30-second video or a 1-minute version of it, or what is that?
I think in general we're always releasing different videos and version, and we sort of are looking at what works, what doesn't, and when something works, we sort of make assumptions about why it works, and then try to make more iterations off of our successes to test those assumptions.
So test everything in real time, just put it out there and see what people react to.
Yeah, and when something works, then iterate on it and do different versions to test it out.
And also, there's a lot of different tools for creators, as analytics tools to use on these different platforms. Like, I'm sure you guys are looking at engagement time all the time and seeing when are people stopping watching, when are they bouncing, when are they leaving this video, and that helps when you're starting to plan, okay, well maybe we should tell this story a little bit quicker, or maybe we shouldn't even be telling that story if people are leaving right away. Or maybe we should, take that into account when we're planning the next content iteration that we have coming out.
Yeah, in online video, people say that if something's not interesting in the first 5 seconds, then people click off. And as storytellers, we're not quite used to that because you want the climax to be at the end after you've already started watching. So how do you reconcile that?
Yeah, I've recently given notes on a script on Facebook because of the autoplay, and it's sort of like, let's make the first 5 seconds visual because there's going to be no sound, and we want them to click on it and watch it. So it was a very specific note for that platform. So I think it's different for every platform.
Right.
But,
so for Facebook, Twitter, as you guys are scrolling, I know whoever I tend to do a lot of my social media, just looking at stuff before we go to bed, I just scroll through Facebook and Twitter, and you're right, videos that are interesting, that are playing without sound for the first 5 seconds. If there's something interesting visually, I'll actually click on it and hear the sound. So if there's not something interesting in the first 5 seconds I like, just pass it on to the next section.
I mean, I think I have a question for the audience too. You don't have to, answer individually. But who consider themselves, like, who wants to be a YouTuber? Who wants to make narrative? Okay, so who wants to really be a YouTuber? Is there anyone here that wants to have their platform be on YouTube? Cool. Okay, cool. Awesome. One. Who wants to do narrative? Okay, and then who wants to do documentary? Okay, that helps me out and figure out how to answer the questions a little more accurately.
Okay.
Because if
you're already trying to figure out your audience.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out my audience.
There's your metrics.
We planned that. I think if at Maker, a lot of our influencers, our talent started because they were YouTubers, right? So they have this massive audience. And I think if you want to become a YouTuber, if you want to build that audience, you have to then become a YouTuber and talk to your audience weekly, every week, right? So it's a different kind of format, for a narrative filmmaker.
Are some of your YouTubers actually creating narrative content now?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have sketch comedy. We have narrative content.
Right. So how are those ideas coming back? Do they come to you guys with ideas and hey?
Yeah,
I think with my other buddies, we have this idea.
Yeah, one of the biggest shows that I worked on was a Minecraft show, and so we had a huge gamer who gets 200 million views a month on his channel, and he said he wanted to make a show that he could use his audience to teach kids. So we actually created a show that was all in Minecraft, and it was all screen capture, and it launched with YouTube as a partner. And it has 34 million views, and already over 100 subscribers. So, he knew he had an audience that was young, and he wanted to create a show that could educate kids. And it was all about this wonder gem that shattered, and they had to go get it so the town wouldn't become super stupid. And so, it's a full narrative though. They're 20 minutes long. I encourage you to go watch it because it's really interesting, and kids will watch full episodes,
So doing a lot of panels, the question I always get from content creators is I've spent a year making my 20-minute or my 30-minute content. I want people to see it. Should I put it on Vimeo because it's high quality, but not many people will see it because it's not as social? Or should I put it on YouTube? But then if I put it on YouTube, I'll lose the rights. I won't be able to enter it into film festivals. What would the answer be? If someone has some content, should it go on YouTube or should it go on Vimeo? Or is there another answer?
Well, I mean, with any
Is that a
of
question
those,
what you guys have ever had, or?
with any of those platforms, you're able to upload anything you want. They're UGC platforms. I mean, Dailymotion being the same. So to get a 20 to 30 minute narrative or documentary, you're shooting a lot. You're shooting a lot more than 20 to 30 minutes. Hopefully, you're not including all of it in your film. I'm sure there's some extras you can add, some trailers, there's various sort of teaser things you can create, and you can kind of start a conversation with some of those. I mean, the main thing that's great about YouTube is that there's a engaged audience that it wants to talk about things, and if you are engaging back with them and talking to them, and you're the creator, then that's how you really start to create a community around your content, and people have a thirst for it and want more of it, and that's how you start to build that audience.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I really agree with Anthony when it comes to listening to your audience. All the time we get ideas for some of our best videos by creating one video. We did a video like, can you waffle it? Can you turn something into a waffle? And then that worked really well, and we were asking questions, and then we did another video which is can you sushi it? Can you make sushi out of something? And we just kept listening to our audience and coming up with different ideas that they really engaged with. And I think it's fulfilling for them because we want to be making content that everyone likes, and having them be a part of that process I think makes it work.
Right, so having to be very viral by it being what they want. What are some of the more popular things? I know you're Disney princess. related BuzzFeed videos are very popular,
Ooh,
right?
fighting words.
Is that right?
Yes, if Disney princes were real and
Right.
real, yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of our content, I think, any of our taste tests are really popular. I don't know if you guys have seen a BuzzFeed taste test. Has anyone in the audience seen a BuzzFeed taste test? No? Some people?
On Dailymotion, the BuzzFeed food content is by far the most popular.
Yeah, and I think
Like
as
real Italians eating Olive Garden.
right,
And, like,
Italian grandmothers commenting on Olive Garden.
I saw
Half
that
the
one.
time.
Yeah, sorry.
Then we did it. So that really worked well. And like an example of how we iterate on things is we also did like a great sushi chef talks about store-bought sushi. I think that really worked. And we did like coffee gurus talk about different types of coffee that are more common. So in general, I think listening to your audience as well as just iterating.
And some of our partners actually, like Defy Media has a property called Screen Junkies that they're new to Dailymotion, and they have, I'm sure everybody's seen Honest Trailers, but they actually start every one of those episodes with tweets from their community saying what should be the next honest trailer that they do. So you can even start to, when you start incorporating your community into some of the content you're creating, there's no better way for them to feel embraced.
Can I ask a question? And my question is, we're talking a lot about people who have like the mission to be, content creators. What about the person who has made, this 30-minute piece, right? And they're really excited about it, and they think it's a work of genius, and they say, well, how do I actually get this out there in the digital space? What do you suggest they do? I'm asking all you guys because you're on the other side of it, but I think there's and my second question is, do you see an increasing disparity between the sort of serial creators and the people who have sort of narrative content that they built a season of something and they want to release it? Are you seeing an increased disparity between those two types of creators?
I'll start. I'll answer Kevin's question first, and then get to your question. But I think you should, if you're making a short film, you should target the festivals that you want to target. Sundance, you can post something online, and then you can still get into the festival. Tribeca, you can't, right? So like you have to know what check all the festivals if you're targeting which festivals that you're trying to get into, and looking at their policy, and then if you can't get into the festival that you want to get into, then I wouldn't post it online, right? I posted a short online just to speak for my experience. It became a Vimeo stat. It became a short of the week, which is a great for filmmakers. Short of the week, you can submit. It's a great platform because then eventually my short became a Vimeo staff pick. And then once it became a Vimeo staff pick, I got into 10 different festivals because festivals were just watching it. So it actually probably has over 100,000 views now. And if you equate that to a festival, I think it could be a better option, right? So I think, to answer your question, I think there's a lot of great narrative stuff that's being made. There's a lot of noise across many different platforms, right? So I think it's just having that special story, having a niche audience, right?
Yeah.
Making sure, there's
I was going to say that when you brought up the Minecraft thing, and it's
Yeah.
like, if you are making a narrative, just think about like who already has something connected to this film. So the Minecraft thing, someone's searching for that because they search for Minecraft stuff, and they find this series, and they're like, oh, this is great. It's a good story, and it has Minecraft involved. A lot of people will attach like Star Wars stuff to things because they know people are always going to be interested in checking out something that has to do with the Star Wars universe. So if you can kind of you can piggyback on other communities that are out there and kind of say, your concept for your narrative just connects with that sort of audience. And then you can do stuff like you can buy Facebook ads for your video against that community as a part of the marketing.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Karapovsky, he's in Girls, he's an actor. He made a movie about this bird, and I just remember when he made that movie, it's like this mythical bird that no one's ever seen. And he tapped into bird watchers. And he toured this movie. It was like crazy. He made a lot of money on VOD, and it was because he tapped into community. And I think you can, like Anthony said, draft off of a community. Use search engine to like figure out, like princesses. That was sort of drafting off of a cultural thing of people loving Disney princess characters. So I think you just have to be smart at the beginning with platform, with the ideas that you're making, but don't let it screw up your creative vision and like being an artist. At the end of the day, you should take it in, but I think you gotta go with your gut at the end of the day.
Well, yeah, and I agree with that as well, because at the end of the day, authenticity is so important in digital content,
Mm-hmm.
and so if it seems like something is canned, it's not going to work.
Like Epic Rap Battles, it's like one of the biggest channels ever. It's a maker. We have a partnership with them. They help start Maker essentially, and they listen to their audience, but they just wanted to do rap battles in history, right, with like different crazy characters, and they just wanted to do that, and then they started listening to their audience, and they grew their audience. But
okay, if you don't have a huge audience, for example, both Dailymotion and BuzzFeed, you guys have a huge number of viewers. You can test things easily. And then your maker talent has an audience as well. A lot of the content creators, if they're indie, they might not have an audience. So where should they put their stuff? I know we said find the niches, but do you want to talk about as an indie creator, like where, how do you build, how do you start to test there? Where do you start to go?
Not all of our creators are huge by any means. Like we have a whole department called Maker Gen, where it's our smaller channels that we're growing.
Yeah.
And we're watching them, we're helping them. There's, they have people that can help them with their end slates. And, I guess if you're doing narrative, one thing that I'm doing with Labs is that we're looking for filmmakers to pair up with influencers, right? So like, why not, if you're a fan of a channel, you think someone's charismatic, you think there's an influencer that can act that you really, really want to work with, and you're a brilliant filmmaker, it's called a collaboration, right? We do it all the time, where in the feature world or TV world, where creators want to get a particular actor to make something with an audience, to monetize it, to get distribution. So I think a smart way to do that is to really know the space. So like, if you want a huge audience, you want to be in the digital space, I think you have to know who those players are, like who that talent is, just like you would with huge features. Like, you have to know who Flula is, you have to know who PewDiePie is, you have to know who the Game Grumps are, like, you have to know all these players that are in that space.
So great point, Theo. So if you're an indie content creator, let's say you're making a comedy narrative, a comedy movie, or a 30-minute short, maybe cast a YouTube influencer who's known for comedy in, one of the roles, of the lead role. So that's a good way to do it. Do you want to add to it?
Yeah, I would say, we landed in a place where we kind of made something because we thought it was going to be really funny, and we had really great actors, Richard Kind, David Rashi, but we had this fully packaged. We didn't have any relationship with an online audience. We had 80 minutes of content that was very funny, and we had no idea where to begin. So we went through the IFP labs. We submitted there. They've just started a web sidebar. So the Lincoln Center every September, while they're doing the independent film labs, they're also now doing labs for narrative content in the online space. So we went there, and that was fantastic because we really were able to engage in the community, in the indie community, and also engage with platforms and get to know that space. And then we also submitted to festivals. So in the end, what happened was we did IFP, we made fantastic connections for the show in terms of turning it into a pilot, so turning it back into a TV format, and everyone said, well, just we'll watch and see if anyone watches your show. And then we actually at ITV Fest in Vermont met Dan Milano from Dailymotion in a conga line. Fun fact. We met him in a conga line. He was like, "Hey, your show is great. Let's do something." And so we partnered with Dailymotion, and that for us has been fantastic. And so we've been releasing our series, our first season, exclusively with Dailymotion for the last
Probably
2
about
months.
40 to 50% of our deals get started on Congo.
So the secret's Congo, but
That's fairly common. Yeah.
What about people who want to, like, I don't know, take something, an idea for a pilot? Let's say that 30 minutes a pilot for something they want to be on Hulu or Netflix. Can I just call them up, or their content acquisition people, and get them to like look at it? Like, how do they know how that works?
no.
Okay. They call you.
I think it's festivals. You know, I mean, like a movie that I had at a festival, Hulu contacted us, right?
Oh, okay.
So I think it's just like trying to figure out. You know, I don't know if there's like a silver bullet for this question. Like if you look at Broad City, like it was a show that was on YouTube. If you look at the YouTube numbers, I don't know if it's still there. If they private it, but like the views are pretty bad.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you have to think about your end goal. If it's just, and we kind of touched on it earlier, but I think you have to create a satellite, you know, pretty much of like, this is the main show, we're gonna put it all these different places. So I don't think it's just one platform. I think if you put it on your Facebook, you know, like, what if one of those people on your Facebook shares it and there's an executive that sees it and, you know, they want to put it on Dailymotion, or the maker sees it, or somebody sees it, right? So I think you kind of have to scattershot if you're at a level where you have limited audience.
Right.
And you just want people to see it. It's sort of put it on every platform, you know, what Adam said, see where it works, and then double down.
And I also think, you know, BuzzFeed obviously has, we have a big audience, we have a lot of really dedicated subscribers, and we love them. But one of the great things about social is that you don't necessarily need a big audience to get one piece of content to spread really rapidly. And I think sort of, you know, a good example of that is a video like, you know, problems that left-handed people face was a video we did. Obviously, this is a pretty niche content category. How many people in the audience are left-handed? All right, 2 people raised their hand. In general, I think
They raised their right hand. Oh, we got to raise his left.
But it's obviously it's a pretty, you know, it's like 10 or 15% of the U.S. population. But we did a video about that, and you know, people shared it. People that knew left-handed people shared it, and it started growing really rapidly. And it was a good example of where there wasn't a big audience, seemingly, for a piece of content, but because you know, people identified with it, it was something that felt really honest and authentic, and it spread really rapidly.
And that's the good thing about digital. You can find these niche audiences, and they will share this content rapidly because it's not usually content created for them.
Right. Exactly.
Cool. I'd like to break kind of midway through and go to questions from the audience. Does anyone have any questions so far? Yellow shirt. I'm gonna try to over it so I can go. All right, you can just ask.
Yeah, what's the best way to monetize on basing your perspective?
That was gonna be one of my questions. But yes, how to monetize.
I can go with that. So on Dailymotion, we have a program that's just our official program. So a UGC user, as long as they are signing up and saying that they own this content, then we run ad network pre-roll.
What's the split?
Against. We start out with a 50-50 rev share, and so you know, we have a rev dashboard. You can watch daily. You know,
How many subscribers are used to get to that level, or can you just sign up and get that at the beginning?
Well, it depends. I mean, you know, one of the rules on our platform that's pretty common is, you know, the more upload volume an account has, the better chance you have of higher revenue, higher views. So, you know, a rule for our platform is upload regularly. And I think that's pretty common with a lot of creators on Maker, where I'm sure you probably tell them the same sort of best practices, which is make sure you have regular uploads to keep your accounts active. So that's a major best practice I know on our platform.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
No, I have a question. So I have
I can reach here.
I have a 30-minute short. So we're in the middle of our.
Oh, that's right. 30 minutes
We're
short.
in the middle of our festival thing. If I do, beyond just the idea of getting disqualified from festivals, once we're through that process, for a 30-minute project, is it better to upload the whole thing? Or like, if there's natural breaks, let's say half, like 15 and 15, or like 3 10-minute sessions?
As many uploads as you can make out of that without it becoming obnoxious. I mean, if you're looking to optimize revenue on it. The other thing that helps to do is it'll allow for more of your content to populate in related video rails. That'll be directly connected through metadata. So there'll be ways that people can engage, and there'll be more pre-roll and more in-stream advertising running against your content.
And a second question related to this is, while it's running in festivals, is it beyond just putting a trailer online? Would it be beneficial to let it, like, put like a 2-minute clip? Like ours is very action-oriented. So like, let's say we put like a 2-minute section of one of the action scenes. Would that be beneficial, even though it's kind of...
If it's a really cool action scene, yeah, I'm sure it is. So if it's a really cool action scene and it's 2 minutes, there's a huge audience for that kind of. I'm blanking on what's the name of the guy who basically made his career off of short, super crazy action videos. Freddie Wong, yeah, that's what. But Neil Blomkamp as well, obviously. But yeah, Freddie Wong basically made his career off of just executing amazing action scenes. So there is definitely an audience out there for that would be engaged and want to check that out, and that would then whet their appetite for the full story.
Who do you go to?
What's that?
Which of you guys do you go to?
I mean, we're
available.
We go to different platforms. So Maker is pretty much like with our partners, our talent, we can go to any platform. I mean, we work with Dailymotion, we work with YouTube, we work with everybody. So not BuzzFeed, because we're
these
you
guys
are
are
a
creators.
YouTube platform. Yeah, we're
platform.
Exactly. So we're like studios, right?
Mhm.
Adam and I.
And we're like theaters.
Yeah, exactly.
In the
But I think
traditional
that if you
sense.
break it up too, like it gives you more time to like gather your audience. You know, like one thing that the more that you can speak to your audience, if you're gonna vlog, you can vlog. Like you can talk about your movie while you're passionate about your movie, while you're at the festivals. You know, like, hey, we're here at the festival, and we're at the red carpet. That stuff is crucial these days if you want to gather and build an audience, right? And even if it's whatever the outcome is, who cares? I mean, that's just like that one person could send it to the next person that could be your big break, right? So like, you just need the right people to see it, and you have to sort of gather that audience.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
I can't reach that far. Do you want to go first?
Hey, so I'm a filmmaker and I have movies on festivals and everything. My 2 questions though actually are more concerned, or one question is actually more concerned with metrics. So I get it, like as a filmmaker, I want to create something I'm passionate about and hopefully it finds an audience. And I have various videos on the internet and I use some metrics analytics. But specifically, like I'm wondering, what data do you guys use? Like if you're looking, like it sounds like with BuzzFeed, you guys kind of just throw stuff up and see what's popular, listen to your audience. But like, is there somewhere where I can find out, okay, well, majority of women are on these services, or this platform seems to be more popular with like a certain age group and all that stuff? Like, is there a specific place you guys all go to for that information?
So demographics on which audiences are where on what platform.
Exactly.
All right. So let's say you have something that skews, female older, you know, to put it on these platforms.
Exactly.
Or something that's younger male, you can put it on these platforms. What do you guys go to for just like stats on what demos are used on what platforms?
Well, it really depends on what your objective is. If you're trying to create some content or put together a custom package for a brand, they want to know about demos. They want to know about age groups, genders, yada yada yada. If for me, when I'm looking at creators that and just trying to see an overarching stat that I think is impactful. One of the things that I find pretty interesting from my standpoint, because I'm, working on a platform, is I like to see off-site engagement. So I like to take a look at how many publishing sites out there are embedding this video content. So if it has the ability to spread. Another thing that's obviously important is engagement time. There's a ton of there's a ton of creators out there that are making money right now off of SEO, but no one actually watches the videos, and those don't tend to be part of the conversation, as opposed to a BuzzFeed where they're getting the views and you can see people are actually completing the videos. They actually like what they're seeing, as opposed to they're just clicking on it because it happens to be a search term from that day or whatever Kim Kardashian did.
But to answer this question, that's like, where is the stat that say this percent of people are this age on Vine or this demo on Vine or Snapchat, whatever? Like, what it used to be Media Metrics had that data, and you had to pay a lot of money, but like
ComScore has a lot of that.
Tubular.
So Tubular Labs has that data. Do they release that? Can someone just like go in and look at that? Like, if you're at home and you want to figure out like
Social Blade is the free access one.
Social Blade's the free one.
So
Tubular.
look up Social Blade, which has the demographic breakdown, basically.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like our creators, you know, we have access to their audience. So, you know, I know that Twitter has a huge African American audience, right? Like, and that's just something that I know from, you know, the ether, right? But like,
There's got to be a stat somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's stats of, you know, getting behind your channel, you'll know the stats a little more, but I don't think you can look into those platforms and know that it's female driven. Or, I mean, Facebook is so huge, right? It's like, it's everything, right?
But I think it's used about 55% female,
Yeah.
45% male. Like, those stats exist somewhere.
But I mean, those are pretty close to what, it's like 50-50,
Right.
you know? So it's not like I don't think there's anything that's like specifically, oh, you have to go here for women. I mean, I think Hello Giggles, right? You're gonna go there for women. So I feel like it's like, you know, it's gonna be endemic to what that brand is looking for anyhow, so it's gonna kind of be obvious.
Yeah, I would look up ComScore, because ComScore used to, do they still do that? Do they report like top sites and so
Yeah.
So I would start with ComScore. Sometimes they make that data publicly available. And there are other things like eMarketer, which tends to do reports which will show you which of the platforms trend or skew which demographics or age groups. Because that I think was your main question, right? Okay, cool. Because another question where I thought you were going to go was what are the key performance indicators for video? And that's where you were answering, were basically like engagement time, watch time, shares, and that kind of stuff, which is another question. So which I think you also answered. So all right, so let's kind of segue into what you were talking about with revenue. So some of the platforms are kind of for making revenue. You put something on YouTube or Dailymotion, you expect to get half or whatever the percentage is. But on Vimeo, there's not really a revenue in there. So when you have content, like how much of the decision of where you put it is based on like, well, is this going to be like the free thing that I just have for everyone to look at, just to see how awesome I am, and maybe I'll get another project out of this? Or how much is like, okay, I put my heart and soul into this, I want to actually make some revenue off it because I have to pay back my investors. Like, how do you figure out where something, or my friends and family, how do you figure out where to put something based on the revenue aspect of it?
I mean, I can comment on this a little bit. I think our model is a little bit different, and we get revenue from a number of sources. You know, pre-roll revenue, but one of our main revenue sources is branded content. So I think we don't sort of divorce revenue from the content and see it as, you know, this necessary evil. Rather, you know, we get really excited to work with brands and say, why don't we, you know, make something really good that aligns with the brand that people want to see and engage with. And you know, that you know, provides revenue, but it also is just great content that people want to see.
Yeah, that's how to answer that. Where should you put something?
I would just add, sort of from the angle of the ignoramus who doesn't strategize about this. What we essentially knew, we knew we would never, so we crowdfunded our first season, and we knew our objective was not to generate, you know, the number of clicks you need to get to actually make any real money. It's huge. So let's not talk like, great, let's go and get 20,000 clicks, we'll make some money. No, like, you know, maybe you'll be able to buy like a McDonald's soft serve with that. But so our objective was, can we get enough views to actually get a brand interested in sponsoring our second season? Because our first season was crowdfunded, we didn't have to pay anyone back. Could we get enough views to get a brand to come on board and step behind our second season? So we had, I guess, sort of a long a long view of the game. So we weren't really looking at, you know, where to go to get revenue in an immediate way, but our question was, where can we get enough views to actually...
Who has investors and who is self-financing, like in the room?
Investors, raise your hand.
Like who has investors, someone backing them?
All right, self-financers, your own credit cards, paying on your own. All right, got it. All right, that's your self-funding.
Yeah.
Who has tried crowdfunding? Indiegogo, Kickstarter. Okay, see this part. Cool. All right, so it's a good mix. All right, so kind of depends, I guess, on what you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like your ROI, right? Your return on investment. Like if your investment is to become a filmmaker, get a feature to get the next project, you know, I think it's a different story, right? You know, I think, you know, to her point, you know, it's sort of, if you don't have a YouTube channel and you start a YouTube channel and you put a movie on there, you know, it's difficult to probably get your return on investment if you don't have an audience, right?
Okay.
So,
All right, so it sounds like building your audience is key. How do you build your audience? I mean, a lot of people in the room are filmmakers. Like, we want to make films. We don't, know how to. What do we tweet about? When do we tweet about it? Should we have an Instagram too? And should we do things like behind the scenes on set? How do we get our cast to do it? Like, how do you start building that audience?
Well, if you're a filmmaker, what excites you? What are you interested in? What's your hobby? What is inspiring you to make your films? Start a conversation around that. There's tons of people out there that we were talking about the Minecraft series. There was someone who was very into that game, and then they started building something around there. There's a common reference point. People will want to get into a conversation with you, and then when you create something that's more of a narrative or whatever your end goal is, then there will be that audience there because they have that common sort of point of view as you do.
When you say start a conversation, do you mean like tweet at people or make comments on a Facebook page of like-minded people, or?
Well, if you're a filmmaker, I would recommend a video platform where, you have the equipment, you can make films, you're good at that. So I would recommend a video platform of some sort.
I also think asking your audience a question and then having people respond and then engage with them, it's really surprising just how much when you start conversations with people, you start really building that audience and sort of a stronger connection to them.
And then we're interested in your product once it actually comes out because they help you kind of formulate.
I feel like every once in a while, I guess every week I get like a short film following me on Twitter, and then they never post again, right? Like they'll be like, I'm gonna follow, and then like do 2 posts, and they're like, all right, that's it, So it's like
I'm on Twitter.
Yeah, and so like I feel like you kind of have to step, in front of the camera, or at least be a voice, right? And be like, hey, what's going on in the world? What Anthony was saying. What am I interested in? And one thing that tends to happen, I think, in the indie space is that the community is just usually filmmakers following filmmakers, but be brave and like go outside of that circle, right? And do what are your interests? Like talk to those people. If it's a movie about woodpeckers or like what I was saying, like go talk to that community. If it's a horror community, like concentrate on that, or action community, right?
Did you say a hoarder?
Hoarder, yeah.
There are both.
Amazing, like a hoarder.
Usually, the hoarder community is, they love to really they'll hoard.
I would follow them.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right, so find your niche audience online. You probably already are a member of various niche audience groups because you all have passions because you're filmmakers. Just let them know you're making a film.
Get your cast involved too. Like,
how do you do that?
Ask them, like talk to them, like have them, create a conversation with them online, right?
Yeah.
Stuff that you're interested in. You have a whole crew of 40 people if you do a short, right? Like get them to commit. Like have them sign something at the beginning, like hey, I'm gonna support you. It doesn't have to be like a contract, but like get them. Yeah, get them to sign a contract in blood. No, but like, get them to like commit to the project, and like you want to have your crew. Like you just don't want to have the sound guy who's like
I showed up.
Yeah, like you want to have your crew be your family, and that family help amplify the project, right? And those are the best projects, and you can start just like the people that are in your immediate surroundings, right? It's obvious, but like they can, if you ask them, I'm sure they'll help you.
Yeah, as an anecdote, on our show has about 40 actors and then a bunch of crew, and we had one of the actors is actually a model, and she, of course, has a really different social group than the rest of us. And in fact, our partners for the second season, the people who came on to orchestrate the brand sponsorship, are a European fashion agency, and they just saw the show through her Twitter world, loved it. And so, you know, I think that's sort of engaging everyone who's involved in the project, especially because in this world, you know, there's so many people who are involved in the project.
You know, I was at the movies this weekend, and they actually, one thing that YouTube does is call to actions. So it's like people that are just like, hey, like subscribe to my channel and watch all of my videos. And they say it at the end of every video. But it was for the new Peter Pan movie, and it was all these famous actors like, hey, we made this movie. It's really, I'm like, why? How are these famous people are telling me to watch a movie? And but that comes from the digital, you know, YouTube of fans having a great connection with their audience and saying, watch my channel, like, let's see what I'm up to next week. And it's a real authentic experience when people ask you to do something and want you to be, you know, they want you to follow them, right? And so, I mean, I was blown away when it was like all these famous actors saying like, hey, watch our movie.
Please watch my movie.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck? It was like Hugh Jackman. Like, being like, hey, will you watch my movie?
How are you
like,
gonna turn down Hugh
okay,
Jackman?
Hugh, like, are you singing in it? You know, but like it was a call to action, and that came from YouTubers, that came from end slates and people saying, hey, watch our next movie, subscribe. And you know, and I think with passionate filmmakers who are really into their movies, you have, you know, it's a really easy thing to do.
Okay, so talk about building your audience in general as you're developing it and creating it, and your actors to also support and filmmakers and directors as you're creating it. Once it's actually time to release, whether you release it online, whether you release it at a film festival, once you actually are releasing it into the world, what are some additional things that you should be doing as far as building your community and your social media, make sure that people see it? Because let's say you release it on iTunes, if a lot of people see it that first week, it bumps to the top of the charts. Same for some of the other social networks.
Respond to every comment.
Yeah. Respond to every comment.
I think you can, in the same way, it's like build out a little cheat sheet for your actors to how to communicate the branding and the messaging of your project.
Just an email saying,
use this hashtag. Use, you know, insert here what you want to say. But like give them directions on how to do it, because you know a lot of people still don't know how to do it, right? And so you want to give them a little guidance on how to, what time to do it, right? You know, giving them
what
like
time should they do it?
Whatever time you decide to do it.
Okay.
You know,
But just keep it regular.
Yeah, just keep it regular. So like if they're gonna do 3 posts, like you know, say do it on Monday, and when the whole cast does it on that day.
Okay.
You know, at that time, and it will just help amplify at the same time, and it could catch a trend. Also, ancillary content. Like you know, behind the scenes, I don't know if it works, but if you're going to do an extension of the movie, like a scene that's later, or a scene that's before, a prequel that's like one little scene, or a little piece of content with them that is really interesting, that's only on that platform for Twitter. It would only work for that platform, but it's based off of the main content.
Okay, you mentioned Facebook ads earlier, which is another, we talked about social, but how about paid? Should people do Facebook ads? It's not that expensive. If you do something with $20, like how much would you spend on Facebook ads promoting your film?
Well, I mean, it depends on, have you set aside a budget for marketing? If you have, that's a good way to target a specific audience.
You guys use Facebook ads to promote your release? Okay, a lot of people have experience with that. If you haven't, it lets you target things to like the most microscopic level, whether it's city or gender or interest level based on their. Okay. All right, let's open up in the audience and do some more questions. Yes, you had a question there, sorry.
I have a very specific question. I'd like to know how each of the channels handles. How do you handle when someone, let's say this has happened to us before, we had a video on YouTube that we uploaded that did pretty well right away. It had 200,000 views. It was Real Housewives of Westeros. It was a parody. And someone, one of the...
Great idea.
Thank you, it was fun. So, one of the groups on Facebook ripped it off YouTube and uploaded it.
What?
And, right, so obviously now we're not making 3 extra pennies from YouTube from it, but it got, over 1 million views.
Did you claim it?
Yep.
No, because 1 million views is 1 million views, but what do you guys do? How do you advise filmmakers to protect their content if it's regarding?
YouTube and Dailymotion has a manual way of doing this, but it will in the next couple months be automated like YouTube's. Is there's a way to claim content. So you basically say, I own this that's been uploaded by another UGC user. YouTube or Dailymotion will evaluate that in a number of hours, and then any revenue that's made from that video will go to your account.
And Facebook is going to be doing that, you're saying?
I don't know if Facebook's going to be doing that. Facebook's not monetizing content.
They're about to though, right?
Well, they're integrating Freewheel currently. Sorry, LiveRip.
Talk in the ecosystem of YouTube and Dailymotion. You can claim a video that's if somebody else uploads it.
Yeah.
Essentially. So if you're a partner, if you're in our network,
Right.
you can we would help you claim that,
Right.
right? So you can monetize against it, and then Maker will.
But not on Facebook right now, so we would.
You would probably have to go through Facebook to tell them to take it down, but they're not making money off of it, right? So like for you, if your production company's name's on it and you guys are in it, then it might be.
Yeah.
Oh, we got a watermark and everything. They left it completely. So we're thinking, 1 million views. That's really good exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, let it go.
They hooked you up.
It happens.
Yeah.
You guys are like Game of Thrones. It's good.
There's a question in the back.
With fake
Right.
news.
Oh my God, this is gonna be the one. It's so hard.
With fake views running rampant, on YouTube, now it's cracking down on it. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of crackdown from other, channels like Vimeo. I don't know if Dailymotion does anything, but that's the question: is do you guys block those fake views, and what do you do to do that? And will it affect the advertising dollars that are not streaming into the digital world?
So, yeah, platforms actively ferret out what you're calling fake views or users that aren't that are bots. The reason why is because if you sell ads or have direct sponsors, and that becomes prevalent on your platform, you're not going to continue working with ad networks or with brands to do branded content. So yeah, that's something that is a problem. It's funny. It's pretty easy at this point to recognize. Maybe they're going to get a little bit more savvy in the next few years. But if you have a huge amount of traffic coming from like Egypt or Tunisia right now, and it's all like 18-year-old male, there's a good chance that there are places called click farms that basically dudes get paid to just sit there and click on videos all day long. And then different people pay services that are like, we're a marketing service, and just give us money and we'll get you views, and we'll get you millions of views, and they're all from Tunisia. So that exists, and so platforms like Dailymotion, like YouTube, Vimeo, I don't know what they do because they have actually a different model than YouTube and Dailymotion. Most of their revenue comes from VOD. They don't actually have in-stream advertising. So yeah, that's a problem. And yeah, when we start, we have different filters that when traffic is obviously coming from nefarious sources.
But you have ways to detect that. Yeah,
yes,
Well, it's
very
funny
simple
because
ways
it
of
was revealed
detecting.
a long time ago, but yet audiences don't seem to care, I guess.
I mean, I think if you're trying to make money off this, you better care, because if you don't, you're not going to have advertisers wanting to work with you.
All right, question from the person in the yellow shirt?
This is for one in the panel. If you're a filmmaker and you upload your stuff privately for festival programmers or press to watch and stuff like that, is there a way that people can hack it, like how they did with this German stuff, or like take it down and spread it around? Like if this platform protected and in private?
If you're submitting to a festival, they're not gonna, they're not gonna wanna do that. Usually as screeners I see on Vimeo and it's private, and I've never heard of that, so.
Yeah. Someone would need to have a serious vendetta.
I would assume
to hire a
hacker. It must be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Any other questions?
I worry a lot. I've never worried about it. A lot.
All right, any other questions? We have time for maybe one or two more. We answered them all? Awesome. I always wait for the shy people to answer
No,
that.
I'm not shy, I just forgot.
Oh, okay, got it, all right.
So, since we talked about demographics earlier, I was going to piggyback off of this, but I didn't get a chance. What are your demographics? How would you sum up your demographics?
I'm a 36-year-old.
Not on your dating site.
You saw that. Dash Madison lead today.
But he's on Tinder now.
I guess Dailymotion has,
Dailymotion in the US.
In the US? I think we skew a bit male. Right now I'm looking at usually somewhere between 55 to 60% male.
How everybody else?
Well, but that's not, isn't there like an age, do you know?
Oh yeah, it's like 18 to, it's usually like, it tends to skew younger, so 15 to 18 to 25, 35, somewhere there.
It's a good question. What are your demos, everybody? What's your sweet spot demo?
BuzzFeed, it's 18 to 34, and I have to check, but I think we skew slightly female.
Very female, and
Well,
18. No, that's actually not true. I'm lying. We've had such interesting and unexpected. We thought we were making a show that American people would find really funny, and they don't. Europeans find it really funny. Germans, Austrians, a lot of people who don't speak English. And also the British, they really like our show.
How do you know all this?
Because of Dailymotion's excellent demographic tools, we can.
Did you put subtitles or just leave it in English then?
We left it in English, but on our upcoming, we're moving to this. It's an Austrian team. They love the show. This is gonna, and we're gonna sell this to everyone. Everyone's gonna want their things for sale on this show. So we're gonna have subtitles soon. You can watch it. Hopefully we'll have dubbing. That would be the best, right? German dubbing.
Tunisia. We're big in Tunisia and New York City. No, it's like one of the biggest millennial audiences, and it changes every month, female to male. But.
Awesome. Well, I'm getting this time that we need to wrap up this awesome conversation because I'm getting this time that we got.
There's only more.
Don't shut him out.
One more.
I was hoping to get some substantive, not so necessarily obvious, easy to find tips about exterior sites, things like Reddit, getting upvotes, and which platforms or what, maybe a few tips and strategies to direct audiences to platforms.
So like Reddit and which other ones?
Well, things like Dig or whatever else might be out there.
Okay, so referrals to your sites. Where is the traffic coming from, and how can you increase that?
Just straight up conversion, I'll give you a quick thing. Twitter is very difficult to convert people into watching videos.
So people don't click on the tweet to watch the video.
Right.
Okay.
We've actually had some really good luck on Google+.
Whoa!
I know, it's crazy.
Anybody else? How do people find your stuff, or what are some other sites that?
Oh, and Reddit too.
Okay.
Yeah, Reddit's huge, but blog outreach is, I think for filmmakers, it's a really smart way to go, right? So you can make it really personal. There's so many different outlets blogs that are looking for content all the time to embed your video, and a lot of our comedy stuff will get picked up by, Laughing Squid, all sorts of different blogs that really drive audience. So. Laughing Squid's a good one. There's also, there's tons of blogs.
Alright, know the blogs that cover your space and then.
Yeah, I know the blogs that cover your space. If it's comedy, if it's horror, those blogs exist and they're out there and they need content daily. I mean, Reddit, if you get a hit on Reddit, then that's great, right? So, I mean, that's huge.
Alright, got it.
Oh, wait, along those lines, how do you?
No more questions.
When you're trying to get the attention of those blogs, what do you think is the best way? Direct email to their Facebook page or trying to tweet at them?
That's too aggressive. But I would just write, with my experience with blogs, I just do try to make it very personal, because if it feels cookie cutter, if it's just like cut and paste, if you.
But you're saying like an email to someone.
Yeah, I think a personal email that's not too aggressive, not too long, but I like your blog for this reason, this is why, and just make it very personal. I mean,
a lot of sites like Devour is a video sharing site that you can just send recommendations of something you saw, and you can be like, oh man, this 30-minute short is amazing, and just don't tell them that you made it.
Yeah.
And it's an objective thing.
Yeah. And often people say do your research, so make sure you know the editors or who's writing what, because you probably follow them already. Let's say someone, really likes quirky black comedy. You would say, oh hey, I happen to have something that's what you like. And then more likely to report about it if you give them obviously
a 5-page email that they're not going to look at.
Yeah, don't make your emails too long because people are busy and they won't read it if it's more than a paragraph at all, right?
Yep.
All right.
That's enough.
Okay. I'm here to sign that the bar is open, and we want to continue the discussions over at the bar. Continue to ask some questions. Thank you guys so much for coming. Let's give our parents a round of
Thank you, Kevin.